Well, I got part of my collection out to talk CBs. This really is only part of it. So there's a question today that was posed: are CBs still relevant? I believe they are. But how are they relevant? Their use has changed over the last few years as more people get busy with cell phones and whatnot. And they're kind of disregarding the old technology. But the old technology still has a very real use. And we're going to explore that today. And we're going to talk about some of these radios and how to make them work best for you. And if you're going to buy a radio, how to choose the right one. As you see here, I've got an old Galaxy 33, a couple of 99s, an old Lafayette base station, some old radios here. They all still work. In fact, I ran this one for a long time, and this old Victor, I ran this one for a long time, and it's a 99, a modern Cobra, and a 148 GTL 5-pin, and some equipment that you're going to need along the way, like the SWR power meter. Things like this are kind of a thing of the past, but they're still relevant if you know how to use them. If you've ever wondered why some radios work a little better in some trucks versus others, despite the fact you use the same coax and the same antenna setup and all that, it's because you have a lot of resistance, your SWRs. That's why you get one of these meters and you run your antenna through it, and it will actually show you how much resistance, and you kind of want it at 0. That way you can set your antennas to match your truck. Most people get around that these days because a lot of the antennas, like the Francises, are all pre-tuned, and they're good antennas, but you'll have varying success where you use 3-foot antennas or 4-foot antennas. But that being said, you also have an SWR meter on your more higher end CBs, and we'll go out to the truck, and I got one hooked up out there, and I'll show you how that works. I got to sneak home for the day, and I get home on the one day it's raining like a cow peeing on a flat rock. So let's get out here to the truck. All right, let's get to the radio. This right here is my other Galaxy 99 on a Road King. It's a Road King Chrome, but it's your basic Telex Road King 56. Well, let's turn this on. Now, this has a lot more features than your average radio. Excuse me. So we'll turn it on here, and we have a freak counter. Now, this one's a little off because the radio's cold, but once it heats up, it'll go back. Now, I can fine-tune the frequency this way and move it quite a bit this way. But this is channel 19. We have the squelch all the way down. But the buzzing went away. So that's kind of how you start with that. If your mic gain, your RF gain, so that's your power and your mic gain, and your radio frequency power here, your RF, that's way up. And then this is just for my echo, and then I can actually use this and dim. Now, if you're gonna set your SWRs, this is I don't have this. I got a radio with an SWR meter in the house. Maybe that would be better, but this is a 10-meter radio. It has A, B, C, and D, and you can see as I flip through the different levels, it's got AM, FM, upper sideband, and lower sideband. Basically put, a sideband is a carrier frequency, higher or lower than the carrier frequency. You can Google that to get a little more information, but that's basically what it is. It's just a place you can go up or down and get some extra frequencies in on your radio. This radio has, well, you got 40 channels plus You have 4 levels of channels, plus you have all the sidebands. If you were to do the math right, I did the math on this one time with all the different combinations, highs, lows, and all the different frequencies. I got about 1,500 channels. No, you're never going to use that many. And if you want that many, you're going to have to go to each individual frequency and channel. But for the most part, you got 40 to the power of 5. Or, well, 40 times 3 to the power of 4. That's what it is. So that's this radio here. And it puts out some wattage, which it puts out wattage. But you have to have good antennas and coax. I have Francis 4-foot antennas on here. I'm running the stock coax, which is a bad deal, and another one out there. Generally speaking, if you really want to get into radios and you really want to tune your antennas, dual antennas are almost kind of pointless at this day and age. They really don't do a whole lot because they you have to put them so far out from each other, and you have to have them tuned with each other to really get maximum effect. That's why you see a lot of the real serious CB guys, they have one right in the center of the cab, and it's 4.5, 5 feet. Now, if you go to a truck stop, there'll always be a certain set of, depending on where you go, which CB shop, if you can find one anymore, there will be a set of radios off to the side called 10-meter radios. These are not CB radios. These are amateur radios. And a lot of guys turn them into CBs. They have them converted. This is one right here. And this is a 10-meter radio. Now, it's not running it in the truck because I really like this radio. But it was converted back in, I'm going to say, 03 or 04. Some of the truck stops got in a lot of trouble because they were converting radios and selling them as CBs, which not only voids the warranty, but the FCC had a problem with that because you have to have a license to run in the 10-meter range. And radios these days are only supposed to put out 4 watts. So this radio cannot legally put out more than 4 watts. That's why it's so good to have a good antenna setup, because if you got a good antenna setup, the 3 watts this thing puts out, you can go 20, 30 miles. But you have to have the proper antenna setup, and it takes a little bit of tuning. That's where things like this come in. But let's hook up one of these radios, and I'll show you the gauge I was talking about. Okay, so we got it hooked up here. We got it to the power inverter. The antenna's up here. It would be better if the antenna was outside, but we don't have that. So, have it on channel 19. Got the mic hooked up. The Barjan, despite its cheapness, has been a good radio. So, click it. And there we are. So now, you have your RF gain here. The power's turned all the way up. Voice lock. Okay, we got that where it wants to be. Now, if we're going to calibrate the SWRs, you have to put it on calibrate, or SWR. Oh, doesn't move, so that's actually a good thing. So let's see if we can make it move. Nope, that didn't work. Turn it all the way the other way. I don't have a big enough antenna on here. Doggone it. I'll see. Oh, there we go. See? Key it up. You don't want that. So, let's turn this all the way back to the middle. Goes there. And turn it all the way this way. It doesn't move. A lot of guys will tell you they like it right about there, but I always put it all the way down, but that's just me. There's different ways to do it, and guys figure out a way. SWR, hit the meter, doesn't move. We're good. So, it's up, squelch is all the way down, dynamite. This right here, you got to keep these cleaned up and lubed because they will screw things up. these loose. These things do get loose, but let's talk about this radio. Now this radio here is one that was believe it or not, a guy had pity on me because I'd been running 23 channel radios for years, and he gave me this. And it's been a phenomenal radio. It's been peaked, it's been tuned, a good setup. I was getting 35 to 40 miles straight line talk. Puts out a lot of power. It's a very good radio, providing I have good antenna setup. So now you're probably thinking that I'm just showing off my CB collection. But for the new guy and the novice, the guy that wants to get out there and get a CB, and I'm going to talk why we need one here in a minute. But if you want to get something a little newer, or you don't have a whole lot of money to spend, these right here, you can buy these things used, $20 all day long. Believe it or not, these little 25s, if you get an older one, you can really hot rod them. I mean, people overlook these. They think they're junk because they're small. They don't have all the fancy bells and whistles. But you can really hot rod these, and these are just raw. So, but for about 20 bucks for the radio and maybe an extra 20, 25 bucks, I'd say about 50 bucks for everything, you can get started. And these are not a bad place to start. Now, I'm going to hook up this other Cobra and let you see where they've come. Now, if you want something a little fancier, this is the way to go. Now, mind you, the internals are almost identical to the internals. Well, there's a 29 under there to that. But it's got a fancy screen, and we'll turn it on and we'll show you. So, it's got everything you could want on here. It's got the dynamic, the gain, the tune, the SWR calibration. You can, and it's got one thing that's also neat. You have a weather radio.
Chance of rain 70%.
So,
Sunday night mostly clear in the evening.
You can,
In the lower 40s.
There you go.
With a 20...
PA. Back to 19 and just key it up. It says antenna warning, but that's because the antenna is not mounted. But the neat thing is I can go through all the settings and I can actually, I'm left-handed, dim, bright, and I can do the SWR calibrations here. And we'll key up. Not bad. Back to the radio. But you know, you can actually change the color of the screen and all that. So it's kind of a neat radio. But what I really like about it is the weather radio. The NOAA weather radio is something that's been forgotten by a lot of people, the Weather Channel. If you go out west and you go across 80 a lot, it's invaluable. Not only does it tell you temperatures and freeze points and elevations and snows and where everything's going, it'll tell you wind speeds at certain mile markers. There's a lot of information. Most trucks now actually come standard with the weather radio built in, but back in the day we didn't have one. And if you had a CB that did it, that was great. I remember the first weather radio I got, I was happy because I'll tell you what, it saved me a lot of pain, and it helped me keep track of what the road in front of me was doing. The weather radio helped me figure out whether I had to do an alternate route. It'd tell me where the roads were closed, and it did a lot of neat stuff that a lot of people overlook. People depend too much on their cell phones. There's a lot of better technology out there than your cell phone, and if the weather's bad, you can listen to it. You don't have to sit there and scroll through anything. You flip it on, and you listen to it, and you're not as distracted. One of the radios I'm going to hit on real quick is this one. This has Bluetooth in it. I thought I would try this one instead of the Cobra, and I should have tried the Cobra. But if you have, trucks have a strict hands-free policy, and most companies do too. And you don't want to wear a headset. A Bluetooth CB may not be a bad way to go, but you have to get the right one. This is not the right one, and I'll show you why. Now, believe it or not, I did use this, but I'm just a little OCD when it comes to putting things back together in their original container. And I'll show you what I didn't like about it. but I did run it for a few weeks, and I thought I'd give it a second chance a while back, and I didn't like it the second time either. So let me get this unwrapped, and I'll show you. Now, while the concept was solid, and it even has a display to display the number to show you who's calling, that was all fine and dandy, and everything worked well except the Bluetooth mic. And it required like a lapel pin. And I said, what is the point of having a Bluetooth mic or a Bluetooth CB radio if you have to be tethered to it? You know, it was an interesting idea, but it was counterproductive. So what I think I should have done was got the 6-pin Cobra, and it would have had the mic would have been in the microphone would have been in the handset, and that would have been better. I've never picked up one of those radios, and I suppose one of these days I should do it if I find one. CBs are kind of a thing of the past in truck stops. They're getting very basic, which is weird because we need them more than ever now. And it's everybody's starting to act like they're a thing of the past, and they're disregarding this old stuff for new technology. But as the pileups ensue on the interstate, the new technology is really not working out. Pulled out this 29. I bought a brand new 29 at the pawn shop. It had never been unboxed. And you can find them. I gave like $60 for it. Brand new. It's with the mic, power cord. It's a nice radio. These radios can be had. I don't really want to unwrap it right now. But CB radios can still be had pretty cheap. And I don't care what kind of truck you drive. You need one. Now, a lot of people think that they don't need one anymore because most of the customers prefer to do things with cell phones now. You go there, you get a phone number, and that is more convenient rather than having a radio. But the radio is still very valid. So how are radios still valid today? Well, let me tell you. Years ago, I was involved in a pileup. Now, I didn't hit anybody. Nobody hit me. Guy come past me with a cell phone crammed to his ear. He passed me, passed a tanker. Slid. Tanker, he got stopped. He starts yelling on his radio. I got stopped because we started yelling on the radio. The guy behind me got stopped. The guy behind him, it was on ice. He got beside. And the 3 or 4 trucks behind us got stopped. And then there was about 4 day cabs with no radios behind them. And so there was wrecks in front of us. And I literally, in my mirrors, watched people just go off the road. Cars plow. This just chaos. They're at exit 6 on I-80 in Iowa. Nobody had the radio on. About the 8 of us in the middle did. And a few people behind all that did. But the guys in the middle did not. And every year, it gets worse. People don't turn their radio on. Yeah, there's a lot of crap still. You don't want to hear that. And I turned mine on. I had mine on most of the winter. Just because I'm not talking on it doesn't mean I didn't have it on. Save me. It's a way to share a lot of information about the roads and allow you enough time to make educated decisions on what you need to do. Because while the weather radio is good, it's not going to tell you there's a wreck up the road. It's not going to tell you that it's shut down. You know, you can't be sitting there with your handheld device scrolling looking for road accidents. You'll become a road accident. Radios are important for a lot of different reasons. Just because the customers don't use them much anymore doesn't mean that they still don't have a function. These radios all have functions. They all work. And they'll all get me to the next thing. They've saved me once or twice this year. They save me every year. And they really help out. I've seen a lot of accidents that could have been prevented because if people had been running radios. People depend too much on their cell phones and their electronic devices to give them the information that they need when you can have a hands-free version of that for half the money, half the price, and you don't have to sit there and scroll. This is important. These are valuable pieces of equipment that, well, one, if you're an owner operator, you can write them off. But two, they'll give you a lot of information if people are acting professional and people are willing to talk on them. Saved me this year. I was in a wreck in Kentucky. In fact, I made a header on it. Sat there for 3-4 hours waiting to get the road open. Managed to get stopped. The guy behind me managed to get stopped. You know, we all got stopped. Luckily, there wasn't a pileup because a bunch of us had our radios on and we were spaced out enough to where it all worked out. Radios, like I said, a lot of them is noise, and it's just, there's a lot of crap, don't get me wrong. But used properly, they're a valuable tool for trucking. What got me thinking about this was I'd been thinking about doing something about CBs a while back, but it didn't really seem all that relevant at the moment, but because, like I said, a lot of people carry them, which is a tragedy. But I found an old Galaxy 33 in a pawn shop today, and I was like, you know, and I got talking to the guy, and he says people are really starting to buy them again. And I got thinking, well, maybe this is something. So I thought I'd just talk about setting them up, what you need, different kinds of radios, and just show you what's out there. There's a lot of stuff out there for cheap, and it's fun to have, and it's fun to play with, and they're neat things. So if you got a good guy that can work on them, or you get one out of the box and you just want to, there's a lot of stuff online on how to set them up and fix them and do them. It's neat. So have fun. I do. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you next video.